I'm not a wedding photographer, but if I were, I wouldn't go for a full-frame camera. This is the lens I would use. The Sony 18-135. Such a mediocre lens, I hear you asking. Indeed, the 18-135 is sometimes bundled with Sony cameras as a kind of kit lens. Number one, you've got to be able to frame up quickly because you might not be near the action. Number two, you've got to do this handheld because you never know where this is going to take place. And this lens has got built-in stabilization. And number three, it's just small enough to put in a bag at your front. It's no good at an event where unexpected things are happening. Having a camera in your backpack or in a suitcase or even on a tripod. Because you can bet your life that you'll take all your set piece pictures, put your camera back in the backpack, and then suddenly the really interesting thing will start happening. I say I'm not a wedding photographer, but I have occasionally been asked to take video and pictures at weddings, mainly in the 1990s when very few people had video cameras. And I must say the prospect of being a proper professional wedding photographer horrifies me, because what happens if you make a mistake? Suddenly a £20,000 event is lost to history, and the happy couple are cursing you for the rest of their lives. And things do go wrong, as all photographers know. I used to work at a college, and I used to do some filming there too. And if I had $1 for every time my battery ran out, just as somebody was about to say something interesting.
With one single exception, I don't see any reason in principle why we could not be the progenitors of a silicon-based life, but silicon chip sort of based.
Then I would probably be able to buy a spare battery. Its usefulness became apparent to me first on a trip to India. When I was making a film, we were bombing around the desert in Rajasthan. I never really knew where we were going to next because, as I say, they didn't speak English and it was difficult to explain. I just had to fly by the seat of my pants, work out what was going on, and when anything interesting happened, I had to have that camera out, framed up and filming in seconds. A lot of the time I was carrying a shotgun microphone in my other hand. I was doing all this with one hand, and you certainly need stabilization for that. And the A6500 is an often overlooked camera. It was the first APS-C camera from Sony that had in-body image stabilization, ladies and gentlemen. Ones that came after it, A6400, didn't have that. And the one thing wrong with the A6500 is that it doesn't have a totally flip-up screen. So it doesn't have a selfie screen. And that can be a problem, but there is a way around it, because using the Sony app on your phone, you can actually set up quite simply a wireless connection between camera and phone and use your phone for framing up. As I've ranted on about on this channel before, I'm not in the slightest bit tempted to get a full-frame camera. They're huge. The lenses for them cost the earth. And where are you going to put it? You see the solution that people normally come up with. They walk around with the damn thing. You see people walking around with their full-frame camera in their hand. I even see it here, out in the wilds. You know, people who've gone out for a hike with their full-frame camera, you see them walking along with it in their right hand. And what kind of a life is that? You know, having your hand taken up with a great big camera the size of a communication satellite. And this is an oldish lens. I got mine in 2019. Happy to say that it still seems to be available. You can still get it. Obviously it's only f3.5. People might think that that's no good in low light. Actually, I found that I usually got away with it. Take a look at this piece of film. It's in a very poorly lit little hut. where our host was making supper for us. That's the 18-135, and it's even slightly zoomed in. So the aperture is narrower than f3.5. Second proviso, you do have to be careful what's at the edges of the picture at the wide end, because they will tend to drift out towards the edge of the frame. So if you've got the back of someone's head near the edge of the frame at the widest end, 18 millimeters, they can start to look like aliens. So either zoom in a little bit or keep your humans a little further in towards the center of the frame. Fourth reason for going APS-C rather than full frame is the weight. If you're handheld, and if you ever have to hold that camera in one hand for a while, the weight can get to you after a little while, and then your hands start to shake. So you need a setup that doesn't start to become uncomfortable. You know, you've got to enjoy the process while you're doing it, otherwise your enthusiasm will drain out, and that will show in the results. Of course, we're spoiled these days because the camcorder that I used to film those clips of weddings back in the 1990s, even though it was one of the smaller camcorders that came out after the huge ones, like in Back to the Future, it's still a heavy item. A bit of weight can be good because it irons out micro jitters and helps stabilize the whole thing. So I guess it's a question of finding the happy medium between inertia and burden.